What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick, Taylor Kyles here for CLNS Media. Outside of Gillette Stadium as the Patriots get ready to take on the Houston Texans this coming Sunday. A reminder, we are powered by Prize Picks and Game Time. Head over to Prize Picks and use code CLNS for $50 instantly when you play just $5. And head over to Game Time, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Taylor, Patriots getting ready, like I said, for Houston, and they're going to do so potentially with some reinforcements coming. Now, Christian Barmore won't be here this weekend, but Jerod Mayo did mention that he is progressing after Barmore tweeted out an hourglass emoji on Twitter and sent Patriots Nation into a frenzy the other night. Like I said, Mayo confirms that he is trending the right direction. He was also asked if he has more confidence, essentially, that he's going to play this season, and he said yes. So, first and foremost, what does that mean? Because, yes, Patriots are 1-4. They're not playing great football really all across the board, but Christian Barmore, one of the better defensive tackles, frankly, in the NFL. Patriots signed him to a massive extension this offseason. What does he bring to this New England defense?
I mean, he's one of their best defensive players. I think one of the better defensive players, like you mentioned, period, in the league. Now, Christian Gonzalez has really been that guy. He's been the top dog in the Patriots defense, where you rely on him week in and week out to, if not make impact plays, at least be able to take away the top wide receiver. But Christian Barmore is a player who can disrupt the offense from the very front on both passing downs and running downs. One of the things that's really been missed for this Patriots offense is pass rush in some of the more potential run situations when teams are under center, use play action, things like that. Now, Daniel Ekuale, who's been the primary Christian Barmore replacement, had his best game of his entire career last week against the Dolphins. Jerry Montgomery, the defensive line coach, mentioned that's his expectation for Ekuale moving forward, but Barmore, completely different animal. This is a guy who can split double teams, who can get pressure on quick throws or, as I mentioned, play action. So a dominant presence up front for the Patriots defense. They could really use it, considering the pass rush hasn't been great so far this season on early downs.
So that's looking forward into the future. This week, however, against Houston, Patriots could get back linebacker Sione Takitaki as well as safety Kyle Duggar. Jerod Mayo mentions that Takitaki's trending in the right direction, and Duggar, after not participating in practice on Wednesday, was back on Thursday. So what do those guys bring to the table this weekend, specifically against the Texans?
Yeah, one thing, Marte Mapu, who played a ton of snaps, almost all the snaps in his season debut as the green dot signal caller for the defense, he had a lot of positive things on tape, but when he was at the second level, where you tend to see guys like Duggar or Peppers, he did struggle when offensive linemen were able to lock him up, saw a lot of pancakes, although he was more competitive than he's been in years past. But I'd like to see Duggar in that position. He's got much more powerful hands. He's a bit sturdier, and he can hang in those type of situations. And then having Duggar also potentially puts Del Pettis on the bench. He's been solid, but at the same time, he's an undrafted rookie. You really don't want him out there too much in those three safety packages that the Patriots love to use. So I would hope that means that Duggar gives you more flexibility to move the other guys around, and the starters would be maybe Hawkins and Duggar with Marte Mapu mixing in as that number 3 safety. And then Takitaki. You talk about, vulnerabilities at the second level. Raekwon McMillan, now he's been working his butt off, and it's obvious the effort for him is fantastic. He's been pretty good in coverage, but when it comes to run defense, he's been a big liability. The Patriots have been bottom 3 in the NFL since week 3, when they started playing all these Kyle Shanahan tree offenses against the run. Almost all of those have come at Keon White and with Raekwon McMillan at the second level. He just hasn't been able to really get off blocks and be sturdy at that second level when offensive linemen climb to him. I think Sione Takitaki does give you that. He's much more physical. He still gives you some solid ability in coverage. And on top of that, he can play that Jelani Tavai adjuster role, where he can also play on the line of scrimmage. So a little more flexibility at the second level and sturdier against the run.
Shifting over to the offensive side of the football, Patriots offensive line specifically has been sort of their Achilles heel this season, whether it's injuries or just poor play in general. Most notably, David Andrews heading to injured reserve. His season is over with shoulder surgery. Nick Leverett comes in the last couple weeks, plays decent football. I know you were less,
I wasn't thrilled.
Yeah, okay.
It's tough. I know, as we know, he has an injury right now.
Exactly.
Also, he told me personally that he's still getting used to the center position. Even though he did play it in Tampa, I believe he's naturally a guard. So, yeah, it wasn't the best performance from Leverett last week.
And so on center, Jerod Mayo asked today about Cole Strange, interior offensive lineman, former first-round pick of the Patriots, how his progress is coming, returning from his torn patellar tendon that he suffered. And Mayo was also asked if he could potentially see some run at center moving forward, and he said 100%. So, Taylor, what would it mean if the Patriots potentially have Cole Strange, their center of the future, already in the building after what we saw happen to David Andrews?
Yeah, one other thing Jerod Mayo said is that Cole Strange is starting to look like a football player, which kind of felt like a backhanded compliment. But at the same time, even Cole Strange told me last year that he did work in that offseason on building weight and trying to get better so that he could be better suited to handle power and those bull rushes that everybody always gives him crap for struggling with. But as I've mentioned, in each of his 2 seasons healthy, he's ended on a high note. Unfortunately, obviously last year ends with an injury against the Chargers. But I do have some real hope hope for Cole Strange at the center position because you're not one-on-one quite as often. Now, obviously, if you do have a center one-on-one, usually it's a mismatch, but with his experience at guard, you'd think he'd be able to handle himself a little bit better in those situations. He has experience snapping from the Senior Bowl. Very, very smart guy as well, so it feels like a pretty natural fit for him, to be honest, probably a better fit than guard. And David Andrews, his future's still up in the air because he got shoulder surgery because he wants to continue to play, but we don't know what that surgery is going to look like and if he'll even have the ability. So at least having Cole Strange, who's still going to be under contract for, I think, another couple years, as an option at center, I think would be huge for them.
Like Christian Barmore, Cole Strange injury and his progress not necessarily a factor in this weekend's game against the Texans. But one more thing involving that, one housekeeping item injury-wise, Ramondre Stevenson, who got rolled up on his foot the other day on Sunday, not at practice again on Friday. 3 straight days, no practice for Stevenson. Jerod Mayo, again, asked about his injury status, said that they potentially will call up people from the practice squad alongside Antonio Gibson and Jermichael Hasty. So, Terrell Jennings, Kevin Harris, what could those guys potentially bring to the table on offense if they do have to go to those guys and Ramondre can't play?
Yeah, Kevin Harris looked good this summer. He said he worked on his contact, or Ramondre Stevenson told us that Harris worked on his contact balance, and that was very obvious, both when he was in practices and in the preseason games. So maybe we finally get to see what he can do. He can catch the ball, not really a true every down type of threat. You would really want him on early downs, but he can do a little bit of everything, and he's willing as a pass blocker. But Terrell Jennings was one of the more exciting players that we watched. Another guy with great contact balance, bit softer hands, and also his willingness in pass protection really stood out to me and was the reason I thought the team would try to keep him around in some capacity. So those two guys, obviously, they're not Ramondre Stevenson. They're not even Antonio Gibson. But if you have that kind of 4-headed monster or even 3-headed monster, depending on who gets elevated and how many guys get elevated, at least it gives you some depth because, as I've said in my previews and as I've said on this show, the Patriots need to get to at least 30 carries in this game so they can try to protect May. And obviously, people don't like that. That's kind of a trigger word where it's like, you don't need to protect him. He's a big kid. He's tough. Yes, of course. But this is a 22-year-old in his first game. You don't want him to have to carry an entire offense.
Help him along.
Exactly. It'd be a lot easier if you have the run game, control time of possession, minimize the time C.J. Stroud is on the field, and also be able to build off of that run game with screens and play action and things of that nature.
Kevin Harris been in this spot plenty of times before the last couple seasons. He's basically been a practice squad hero, warrior for this team the last couple seasons since they drafted him out of South Carolina. He gets thrust into these spots and he plays pretty well. We'll see if he can do it again on Sunday against Houston. Patriots again will be here on Sunday taking on the Houston Texans in Drake May's first start, and we'll have you covered here every single day leading up to it and on game day on Patriots Press Pass. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the channel, and check out all of our written work on clnsmedia.com.